and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother, made lurid and false claims about the royal family, which played on her fears and fueled paranoia.
Did you know that Prince William once questioned whether he could handle walking behind Princess Diana's coffin, fearing he might crumble in front of millions? Today, we're uncovering the hidden challenges that shaped a prince born into immense privilege, yet forced to navigate heartbreak and expectations few of us could imagine. At 41, he has finally revealed certain truths that confirm what many suspected all along. Stay with me, because these insights offer a fresh look at a royal figure who has grown from a grief-stricken teenager into an advocate for mental health, empathy, and a more transparent monarchy. Prince William's story begins on June 21st, 1982, at St. Mary's Hospital in London. Cameras captured every glimpse of the newborn heir, whose father was then Prince Charles, and whose mother was the beloved Princess Diana. Even as a baby, William became the focal point of global fascination. Well-wishers crowded outside the hospital, royal watchers discussed every detail of his arrival, and newspapers lauded the birth of a future king. Though such attention brought prestige, it also served as the backdrop for pressures he would grapple with for much of his life. From the start, Diana did things differently. She wanted William to see the world beyond gilded corridors, so she took him to visit homeless shelters and hospitals, even letting him pop into fast food restaurants on occasion. By exposing him to everyday experiences, she hoped to instill compassion and humility. William, wide-eyed and eager to learn, absorbed these lessons with every outing. He saw a reality that few royals ever encountered, forging emotional connections with people from all walks of life. These outings gave him a foundation of empathy that would profoundly shape his later actions. Yet, nothing could shield him from the intensifying discord within his parents' marriage. Diana and Charles's relationship deteriorated under the glaring spotlight, dogged by rumors, tabloids, and constant speculation about Charles's ties to Camilla Parker Bowles. William was still too young to understand the complexity of adult relationships, yet he felt the tension growing at home. Sometimes, Diana confided in him, calling him her little wise old man, an intimate term that suggested she saw him not merely as a child, but as an emotional support in a difficult time. This was a role for which he was unprepared, and it weighed heavily on his young shoulders. As William entered his school years, the public's interest only grew. Photographers followed him to sports matches, tabloids spun stories about his personality, and every minor mishap became a talking point. Yet, beneath the polished exterior, anxiety simmered. The boy who had once giggled freely now seemed more cautious, displaying a reserved front whenever reporters lingered. Diana, aware of the scrutiny, tried to protect him from the most intrusive elements of royal life, but her own personal difficulties made that protection increasingly complicated. Eventually, the tension between Charles and Diana culminated in separation, then divorce. The fallout saturated every newspaper and television broadcast. William watched helplessly as details about his parents' private lives became fodder for public discussion. He attended events, shook hands with officials, and smiled when required, but behind the scenes he felt an ache few could comprehend. Worse still, he sensed Diana's distress intensifying. She sometimes leaned on him for comfort when the pressure seemed insurmountable. For William, each day became an exercise in hiding worry behind princely decorum. Then came the day that would forever reshape his life. August 31st, 1997. Princess Diana's car accident in Paris shocked the entire world. William, just 15 at the time, learned of her death at Balmoral Castle alongside Harry. A wave of international grief ensued. Crowds gathered outside royal palaces, laying flowers, lighting candles, and shedding tears for the people's princess. But even that monumental outpouring paled in comparison to the private devastation he felt, losing the guiding force in his life. The funeral seared itself into public memory. William, Harry, Prince Charles, Prince Philip, and Earl Spencer walking behind Diana's coffin. Later, William would reveal how torn he was about taking that solemn walk. Prince Philip gently reassured him by saying, "If you walk, I'll walk with you," giving the young prince enough resolve to proceed. Cameras captured the moment, freezing it in time as a defining image of royal grief. Millions watched as William, still a boy, suppressed the urge to break down. The public felt sympathy, but nobody could fully grasp the personal turmoil beneath that rigid composure. After the funeral, William faced a new reality without Diana's warmth. The world's curiosity about his state of mind only grew. Photographers captured his return to school, attempting to gauge how he was coping. Speculation mounted about whether he could ever recover. Yet royal protocols urged a stoic front, and William obliged. He pushed on with his studies at Eton College, then later at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. It was at St. Andrews that William found a semblance of normality. Freed from the relentless gaze of London's paparazzi, he could blend in more than before. He discovered friendships, pursued sports, and delved into academic work. There, he met Kate Middleton, a relationship that offered genuine companionship unclouded by the usual royal formalities. Their bond began simply, as fellow students navigating university life, often cooking meals together and socializing with friends. For a while, he escaped the ceaseless swirl of speculation, but once the press uncovered the romance, William was pulled back into an intense spotlight. Tabloids hungered for details, and soon the coverage escalated. Despite this, he found in Kate a steady presence who understood the complexity of his life. Their relationship grew steadily, culminating in a public engagement announcement that ignited global excitement. The world saw a fairy tale unfolding, though behind the scenes, William still grappled with lingering trauma and unresolved grief. In the years that followed, William embraced more royal duties. He participated in charitable events, undertook official tours, and appeared at high-profile ceremonies. His wedding to Kate in 2011 brought a moment of national celebration, watched by millions worldwide. Yet even on that joyous day, William felt Diana's absence. He admitted later that he sensed her presence in the church, wishing she could have met Kate, wishing she could share in the happiness he'd finally found. Still, he soldiered on, presenting a dignified public face. For a long time, many assumed that with Kate by his side and new responsibilities as Duke of Cambridge, he'd begun to heal. Yet inside, he carried an ache that no one could see. He rarely mentioned Diana in public, mindful of the monarchy's tradition of composure. Only close friends and family knew the extent of his private struggles. As William moved into fatherhood, welcoming Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, he experienced a renewed sense of purpose. He wanted to protect his children from the paparazzi he had grown to resent. He also wanted them to live with a touch of normalcy, remembering how Diana had tried to give him and Harry glimpses of life outside the palace gates. Diana had taken them to theme parks, let them wear jeans and baseball caps, and shielded them from excessive formality. William felt this approach gave him and Harry a grounding that many royals never received. Over time, another factor pushed him toward a major revelation: his work as an air ambulance pilot. During those shifts, William encountered families at their most vulnerable, standing at the edge of crises and tragedies. He empathized deeply with these strangers, recalling the shock he felt on the day Diana died. He realized that heartbreak and suffering weren't limited by class, status, or title. Everyone could be blindsided by sorrow. This recognition resonated in a way that eventually propelled him to speak more openly about his own experiences. Meanwhile, Harry was on his own journey. The two brothers shared the same catastrophic loss, but processed it differently. Harry's grief manifested in ways that led him to therapy much later. William, feeling pressure to be the steady one, kept quiet for years. Despite contrasting approaches, they were united in the conviction that bottling up grief does more harm than good. Slowly, they began discussing Diana in interviews, talking about her warmth and her guiding influence. This willingness to open up marked a turning point in the monarchy's traditionally reserved culture. In 2016, William, Harry, and Kate launched the Heads Together campaign, aiming to break the stigma around mental health. It was a bold move from a royal perspective. In a family so deeply associated with ceremony and decorum, speaking frankly about mental well-being felt revolutionary. William's confessions about struggling with Diana's death for so long, acknowledging a numbness that trailed him for years, captivated those who had assumed he'd already come to terms with it. Instead, he revealed that he still carried the shock, that each anniversary of Diana's passing revived old wounds. That same year, William underscored the importance of counseling, emotional support, and open dialogue. He mentioned how men, especially in the UK, often feel pressured to project stoicism, just as he once did. A future king suggesting vulnerability might be a positive thing turned heads. He argued that acknowledging emotional pain is an act of courage, not weakness. This message resonated far beyond palace walls, prompting men in particular to reconsider their own reluctance to seek help. As William's advocacy grew, so did his understanding of how to blend tradition with modern openness. He recognized that the monarchy's longevity depended on connecting with people's real concerns. Younger generations, accustomed to open discussions, welcomed his honesty. By talking about Diana's legacy, he preserved the memory of a woman who had championed empathy and directness. By confronting his grief, he showed that royals aren't immune to internal battles. He also learned to navigate the press in a more strategic way. Having endured relentless paparazzi pursuit in his youth, he negotiated a truce of sorts, granting official photos of his children at milestones to satisfy public interest while maintaining boundaries. He refused to let tabloids chase George and Charlotte at school, determined to prevent them from experiencing the same intrusive frenzy Diana had endured. Though some questioned whether this defied the monarchy's usual openness, many applauded William for protecting his family's emotional well-being. Internally, William also worked to mend ties with Charles. Their relationship had been strained, largely due to the upheaval surrounding Diana's death. Over time, William recognized the pressures his father faced and sought a way forward. Their bond grew stronger as they discussed the monarchy's evolving role, forging new mutual respect in navigating its future. William understood that unity within the family was essential to maintain the monarchy's standing. Another aspect often overshadowed by his royal titles is William's love of sports and the outdoors, passions nurtured by Diana, who encouraged him to be active and engaged with nature. Whether playing water polo, captaining a school sports team, or riding horses for charity events, William found solace in physical pursuits that relieved the stress of public life. In these moments, he could step away from the burden of royal expectations, focusing on the sheer enjoyment of competition and teamwork. When he finally decided to speak candidly about Diana's death, William noted that it remained a constant undercurrent in his mind, surfacing unexpectedly even decades later. He shared that certain sounds, photographs, or even scents could trigger memories of that fateful week. He explained that any child losing a mother would struggle, but losing her amid the global spotlight compounded the grief in ways few understood. As time passed, William carried these experiences into fatherhood, explaining that he aimed to foster emotional openness at home. He and Kate encouraged George, Charlotte, and Louis to express their feelings freely, hoping to break the pattern of silence that once ensnared him. He believes children who learn to name their emotions adapt better to life's challenges. This approach, though relatively normal in many families, marked a significant shift for royal households accustomed to stoicism. Even with all this progress, William has mentioned he sometimes encounters waves of sadness that catch him off guard. Certain anniversaries of Diana's death, or milestones his children achieve, reignite that longing for her guidance. Yet these episodes no longer incapacitate him. Instead, he's learned to face them, acknowledging the depth of his loss, while finding new ways to carry on her philanthropic spirit. This ongoing process doesn't negate his royal responsibilities, it simply infuses them with a deeper sense of empathy. There's no doubt William's journey is still evolving. He remains a key figure in the monarchy's transition, balancing ancient traditions with present-day demands for openness. He consults with Charles and other senior royals while also standing firm on the importance of mental health advocacy. Together, they aim to ensure that the institution remains relevant to younger audiences who admire authenticity and champion causes like emotional well-being. At 41, William appears more secure in his identity than ever before. He's a husband, father, future king, and tireless proponent of discussions around mental health. He acknowledges the unhealed part of himself that still misses his mother every day, yet he's transformed that ache into purposeful action. He's determined to honor Diana's memory by keeping her compassionate legacy at the forefront of his work. The heartbreak that once threatened to overshadow him has become a driving force in his commitment to helping others. Still, the public occasionally questions if the monarchy can truly modernize without dismantling its more rigid customs. William seems inclined to balance continuity and change. He treasures certain royal traditions, ceremonies, processions, and national duties, while refusing to let them stifle honest conversation. To him, updating the monarchy is not about discarding the past, but ensuring that the institution grows alongside society. Much of his success in redefining his role can be attributed to Kate as well. She complements his strengths, backing him in mental health initiatives and championing early childhood development. Their shared ethos has shaped campaigns that encourage emotional resilience from a young age. Whether visiting schools or hosting events, they maintain a grounded approach that reflects Diana's wish for a family unafraid to show heart. If Diana could see William today, she'd likely recognize how deeply her lessons took root. His charities mirror her values. His approach to raising children reflects her hands-on style, and his decision to disclose intimate details of his grief echoes her candor. By championing mental health, William keeps Diana's memory alive in a tangible way, ensuring that the monarchy can stand for compassion, not merely ceremony. Thank you for journeying through Prince William's life, from a bright-eyed boy to a man who finally acknowledges the battles he fought after losing his mother. If you have ever wrestled with grief, if you connect with William's story, or if you see parallels in your own life, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to pass this video along to anyone you believe could benefit from understanding that no one, not even a prince, is untouched by heartbreak. We value your perspective, and we'd love to continue this conversation together. Until next time.